Do you know your calling? Now think about it and you'll answer as we get going in this episode. This is Now Tell Us. I'm your host, Anthony Murore. At Now Tell Us, we have guests come and tell us stories. They come and inspire us and educate us on a subject. And always we have great guests with us. When I say always, I mean even today, we have a great guest with us. His name is Scott Maderer, and he's going to be here shortly to tell us about mastering our time, our talents, and also our treasures. And in comes something that I'm interested to know: how do you identify your calling so that you can go for it and achieve it? Now, that one, Scott is going to come and tell us. So I don't want to take one more minute. I just want to remind you, please share this episode with all your friends. If you have a question, ask. If you have any comment to make about the podcast, we love feedback. So thank you in advance. And now, why don't you join me as we go to meet our guest today, Scott? Here we go. Hi there, Scott.
Hey, Anthony, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about you?
So far, so good. I woke
Yeah.
up this morning and I'm seeing flowers and not roots, so it's a good day.
That's wonderful. Flowers and not roots.
Yep.
So when I wake up in the morning and I'm seeing roots around, I know
Uh,
now this is gonna be
It might not be a good day.
it might not be a good day. Nice, good. I'm also looking around. Okay, I'm inside the house. But anyway, when I woke up in the morning, I looked around and there were flowers all over, and I was, oh, thank God. Today is a beautiful day.
Yep.
Which part of the world are you?
So I'm actually located in South Texas. I live close to San Antonio, but I live out in the country. I like to explain to people I live about 45 minutes to an hour from the closest Walmart, Starbucks, or McDonald's. And at that point, people usually figure out that that means I live out in the country.
Oh, I was waiting for you to mention a horse because that's all I know Texas about.
Yeah, believe it or not, I own neither a horse nor a cowboy hat.
Okay,
So,
neither of them. So you're not a cowboy.
neither of them. Nope.
Yeah. So what are you?
Mhm.
Because you're not a cowboy, you don't own a
Nope.
house, a horse, a herd. What are you? What exactly are
I'm
you?
still a native Texan, but my career, my calling, what I'm doing today is I call myself a stewardship coach. That's where the mastering your time, your talent, and your treasures come from.
Uh-huh.
Is I like to help folks figure out those areas of their life so they can kind of get out of their own way and do the thing that they're supposed to be doing.
Now that's beautiful. And how did it come to be that you are a steward coach?
So back in the day, I actually started my career. I was going to become a medical researcher. I got degrees in hard science degrees, one in genetics, another one in biochemistry. Started doing research work, figured out that that was really about chasing grant money, and that's not what I really wanted to do. So I pivoted and became a school teacher. So I taught science in public school and in private school. I did that for about 16 years. And then after that, I turned to the corporate world and joined an educational testing company. So, in the words of my students, I joined the dark side. I went from teaching to testing. So, moved myself up in that company. Spent about 11 years there, was in senior management by the time I left. And again, I loved what I did. I loved teaching. I didn't leave it because I hated it. I left it because, well, teachers aren't real well paid for the hours they put in, and I needed something different. And then I left the corporate world because as I moved into more and more of what I was doing, I began to realize that I enjoyed the coaching and the development of leaders and the coaching and the development of the other members of my team a lot more than just the day to day. And so I began a coaching business on the side. and back in 2011. And then by 2017, I had taken that business full time. In the meantime, my wife and I had gone through our own financial struggles. We'd gone through our own problems. I'd also gone through a lot of work studying productivity and how people manage their time. Again, part of my job in corporate and as a teacher was to coach and develop others. And so I took all of those skills together, and that's what I rolled into the coaching business. Why is because that's the areas that people constantly were asking me for help. And so those are the areas that I kind of started coaching in and then went full time, like I said, in 2017. And that's been my full time gig ever since. I've been working with clients all over the world. I do it. My commute is 30 seconds. I walk from the house next door to my office, plug in the computer and turn it on and get to work. It's a lot better than the hour and 20-minute commute that I used to have. And I enjoy doing that right here out of my home office here in the country.
Wow, and inspired. I'm inspired. You did one of the best jobs in the world, teaching. I usually say that those are the best uh, people on the planet, and it's unfortunate that you mentioned they are not as well paid as they should be. They are not compensated according to the value that they give to the world. Can you imagine? There's nobody who's walked on the face of the earth who's never passed through the hands of the teacher, who
Right.
shaped into himself, into whom he becomes. The doctors, the lawyers, all the people. So you were a teacher. It's unfortunate that something else pushed you out of it. But anyway, we are glad to have you here. You're still coaching and teaching.
I'm still teaching. I'm just doing it a different way and with a different audience. Absolutely.
Yes, and we also have someone else who was a teacher some time back. Her name is Mishka. She left teaching profession too in corporate America as well, and she needed to hear this today. So you are in the right place, Mishka, and she's in the midst of searching for another passion, and
Well, we can definitely
that's
talk
why
about
you're
that
here.
some today too.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm going to be talking about. This is mastering your time, your talent, and also your treasures. Now, and I don't know, I won't speak much because this is now tell us. So based on our topic, based on what Mishka would love to hear, can you go ahead and share as much as you can?
Sure. So usually, I think for a lot of us, there's a couple of different areas that I can touch on. So one is that area of calling or passion. You hear people tell you, follow your passion, you'll never work a day in your life, and these sorts of things. But then how do you actually figure out what your passion is? And beyond that, even if you do figure out what your passion is, how do you figure out how to turn it into something that you actually do love doing? Because honestly, I will tell you, there are some things that you'll find that they're passions and you should never monetize them. And that's perfectly okay. And there's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with it. It's just a hobby and it's something you do because it brings you joy. And somebody sitting there going, oh no, that's what you should do and make money on it. It's almost like that kills the joy. you know and
Hmm.
and that's okay to recognize that and go, no, no, this is something that I'm just going to keep for me. It's something that it's my hobby, it's my passion project, it's something that I love to do for me.
Hmm.
Other times you will find something that is of interest to you, and a lot of times what you'll find is other people don't find it as easy as you do.
Hmm.
It's something that kind of almost comes naturally to you, or you enjoy it so much that it's no problem to spend the extra time on it. You'll go watch videos about how to do it just for the fun of it, and you get a kick out of it and you get better at it. And other people are constantly coming to you and going, hey, could you help me with this? Or hey, I know you're really good at this. Could you show me how? And a lot of
Hmm.
times those are the perfect things to become the passion that you actually monetize.
Hmm.
Because honestly, you already have been told that it solves a problem for somebody else.
Hmm.
Well, think about it. Business is solving problems in exchange for compensation. I
Yeah.
mean, that's really all it is, right? And
Hmm.
by the way, that goes whether you're an employee or whether you're a business owner. It's still the same thing, because as an employee, what are you doing? You're solving a problem that the business owner has. They
Hmm.
need a certain task done. You have the skills to do it. I will give you money if you do the task.
Hmm.
Compensation for doing work. That's
Yeah.
an employee. As a business owner, you're still doing the same thing, which is now my customers have a problem. in need of a solution. I can provide that solution and they give me value.
Mm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's an oversimplification, but if you think about it, people generally are going to give you value either for the knowledge you have or the skills or the abilities that you have. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, the best compensated people are where those two circles overlap. I'll give you an example. I know a lot about plumbing, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
I may still pay a plumber to do certain jobs around my house just because I have the knowledge. Well, I don't want to tell plumbing's not fun. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It's a dirty job. If you've ever
Mm-hmm.
done it, raise your hand. You can testify that it's not a fun job a lot of times.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
working
yeah.
you're
I
working
agree.
around things that aren't fun to work around. We'll
I
just
agree.
leave it at that.
Uh-huh.
So you would maybe hire a plumber, even if you have the knowledge to do it. You're not in that case. You're not paying the plumber just for their knowledge. You're paying them for the ability to do it. You're paying them so that you don't have to do it. Other
Mm.
times, you may know nothing about plumbing. Now all of a sudden, you're hiring the plumber for knowledge and for skill, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're hiring them to do the work, but you're also hiring them for knowing how to do the work.
Mm.
In that case, what happens is, guess what? Think about those two situations. I know how to do it, but I want to hire someone else because it's not the most fun to do, or
Yeah.
I have no knowledge of how to do it and it's not fun to do, and I don't want to have to figure it out and make the mistakes and all of that. If the plumber comes back and it says, it's $1,000 an hour, if I've got the knowledge and the skill and could do it myself, it's just not fun. I very likely am going to go, I think I'll keep my $1,000 and I'll just do it myself.
Yeah, exactly.
But if I don't have the knowledge or the skill, $1,000 an hour sounds perfectly reasonable to me.
You
It's
just
like
put it out freely and say, okay, here it is. Just go
yeah,
ahead and do what you have
what
to.
it costs, right? I may
Yeah.
get a second opinion, I may need to get an offer, whatever. But at the end of the day, I know I'm going to have to pay somebody to do it. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing kind of goes for us. I'm trying to make it less abstract. If you have both a knowledge and a skill set, and you can put those together in a way that other people can't, that all of a sudden becomes a very likely to be a passion that you can actually turn into a business, if that makes sense, because people are
Wow.
going to be willing to pay you for that combination of skill and knowledge 90% of the time.
Wow, I believe that makes sense. And Mishka is actually inspired and excited that you're sharing this today, because it's something that she's going to employ into her search for another thing that she has to do. And each and every one of us comes to that point, and it's good that now she's left the profession, she's out there looking. But then there's that person who can not leave whatever they are doing. They can't leave the corporate America or whatever place they are at, because this is what is putting bread on the table, but they
Mhm.
don't like it. They really hate it, to put it in another way. How does one go about that?
So
You
about
have that skill, maybe you found that skill set.
yeah, absolutely.
How do you go about
Surveys
it?
show that like 80% of people
Hmm.
hate their job. Okay, so stop and think
Yeah,
about that for a minute. If 80% of the people, think about how many people you run into in the day that are doing a job,
quite
and
many.
realize 8 out of 10 of them hate what they're
They
doing.
hate what they're doing. And
So
the worst part, and the reason that I'm asking this, the worst part is that they could be having that skill set, that idea of going into another direction, but then they don't have the time.
right,
They hate everything, but then how do they just okay,
right.
go ahead.
And most people will come to you, and that's exactly what they'll say.
Yeah.
By the way, master your time, your talent, your treasures. There's a
Mm,
reason I picked those three things.
okay.
Time and treasures are usually the two biggest things that people will tell me is keeping them from doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either I'm so busy all of the time. I've got all of this stuff going on. I've got home and I've got life and I've got this and I've got that. I've got my day job and I've got all of that. There's no way I have time to start my project on the side or to start it small or to get working on it.
Yeah.
Conversely, I have too much debt. I don't have enough money. It's too risky because I'm very well compensated in my day job, and there's no way I could provide that same level of compensation in a side hustle or in my own passion project. I can't get there. I
Mm,
make too much money, but I'm broke, is
mm-hmm.
a lot of times the way they'll express it.
Yeah.
Here's the little secret. I'll give you the insider secret. Nobody tell anybody. Luckily, it's just the two of us. So nobody else needs to know. So
Don't
it's a
shout.
secret.
Don't shout. Don't shout.
Real truth is, it's that middle one, that talent part, that's actually the problem and the solution. Because the way you handle your time and the way you handle your money is actually about how you handle yourself.
Mm.
It's not about how you handle your time or your money. It's about how you handle yourself.
Yourself.
Because at the end of the day, usually, I'll give you a phrase. Instead of saying, I don't have time for that, say, that's not a priority for me.
Mm-hmm. That's
A
not a
lot of times it'll change what you do, because all of a
yeah.
sudden it's like, I don't have time to work on the thing that I really want to work on. Okay, you don't have time. You're busy. That's not a priority for
It's
me.
not a okay.
All of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, it is a priority for me. That's something that's important to me. Okay, then what are you doing that actually is not a priority, but you're
Yeah.
spending your time on it instead? It might be
So
watching Netflix. It might be something else. It might be sleeping late. You could start a business at 5:30 in the morning, and that
mhm,
hour that right now you're sleeping. Now, I don't suggest giving up sleep. I'm not saying sleep on 4 hours. This isn't the whole hustle culture mentality. That's not what I'm talking about. But
mhm,
what I'm saying is go to bed a little earlier, get up a little bit earlier. And in that time before the kids are awake, before your spouse is out of bed, before you have to go to work, spend an hour on your side thing, and get it started.
mhm.
Find the time by saying no to stuff that isn't important so that you can say yes to things that are important. Say yes to the really true priorities, say no to the things that aren't really true priorities. By the way, it's the saying no part that's hard, because most of us say yes to a million things and find it really hard to say no to anything.
Yeah, and it's most of us, as you say. And the question has always been, how do I say no when everything tells me inside that I need to say yes, even though it's not for the good? So how do I get the courage? How in what way do I say no?
It's real simple. Look at me and do it with me now. Purse your lips together, push the tongue against the roof of your mouth and go, no,
No.
and then stop talking. It's a complete sentence. Okay. You don't actually, because usually what we end up doing is trying to provide all these excuses why
Yeah,
it's no. No, just say no. I mean, I know I'm making light of something because it is hard to say
yeah,
no.
it is.
But
It
but
is.
the truth is if you've come back and you've said, because here's the thing, you're not saying no forever. You're saying no for right now. Okay. It's a
Mhm,
temporary no so that you can restructure your life so that you're able to do the most important things to you. Okay. Because guess what? Today, when I started the business on the side, I was working a corporate job and I was working 60 to 80 hours a week
mhm,
every week. And I
mhm,
started a business on the side. Okay. I
mhm.
didn't watch a lot of TV. I didn't go to a lot of social activities. I didn't, we didn't go to a lot of movies. I was focused. I got home. I worked for about 2 hours. I got up early in the morning. I worked for about an hour. I started the business in the margins. I worked from a lot of hotel rooms. I worked from, because I was traveling for work. So what did I do in the evening? I'm taking a client call 8 o'clock at night out of a hotel room on a laptop. I started it in the margins. And then as the business grew, we'll talk about the money component in a minute, and I began to prove that I could do it. Then I backed off from the day job and I actually went part time, kept growing the business, and then I quit. So I kind of did it as this temporary slope as I was able to prove that the business would work and that I could make some monetary compensation. Now I'll tell
How
you,
long did
the
that take?
first year in business, I didn't make anywhere close to what I was making in the corporate world. I wasn't even, you know, not even in the same ballpark,
How long
but
did
it's
that
gone up over
transition
time.
take? How
Hmm?
long did that transition take? You
Well, I started
going
the business on the side in 2011 and I went full time in 2017. So for me, it took almost 6 years.
6 years,
Hmm.
and along the way, I know even as you're building, there are disappointments. Like they say, it's not every business that you started is that succeeds, that goes up there where we all want it in the first year, second year, not the fifth year. what challenges did you face? Were there times that you were asking yourself, "Hey, what am I doing?" Couldn't.
I usually only ask myself questions like that on days that end in Y,
Yeah.
which is every day, right? I mean, all small business owners do. There's your highs and lows, right? You just had 3 clients sign up. It's like, yeah. And then, you have 3 prospects, all of which say no in a row. And it's like, or whatever.
Mhm.
I don't care what it is, what kind of business you have, there's always going to be highs and lows. So part of it is managing to maintain your focus again on what is your real why. Why are you doing this? Why is it
Mhm.
important to you? What's your real drivers? And by the way, a why is not a goal. So a goal is I want to make X amount of money, or I want to lose this much weight, or I want to, pay off my debt. Those are goals because they have a beginning, they have a middle, and they have an end. You start the goal, you work on the goal, I've accomplished the goal. Or I start the goal, I work on the goal, I didn't accomplish the goal. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. A
Mhm.
why or a passion or your reason behind it is about the emotional drivers. It's about wanting freedom or wanting flexibility or wanting, more ability to control your own time or more. And guess what? A lot of times you have to give up what's important to you a little bit for a
Yeah.
little while because
Mhm.
I gave up a lot of time to now have a business where I've got more control over my time, you know? So
Mhm.
there was a period where I gave less. And now it's like, guess what? If I want to go have lunch with my wife at lunchtime, I have lunch with my wife at lunchtime. If I want to take a couple of days off and drive up to Dallas so that I can help with my son with something,
Mhm.
I take a couple of days off and I drive up to Dallas so I can help my son with something. So it's now I have more control because I went through that period of kind of sacrificing a little bit in the present to get to the future. You don't want to give up. It's a weird balancing act because you never want to give up all of your present for the future, but you also don't want to sacrifice your future for the present, if
Mm.
that makes sense. And
Yeah,
you can do both.
it does. It does make sense. Wow, this is good. This is good, and thank you for all that you share. And thank you to all those who are watching, those who are listening. We appreciate you. Thank you, Mishka, for such a wonderful contribution. And if you have a question as we are continuing, you can always ask if there's something that you think we are missing to responding to your query. Now, that's why we are here, and this is why we will tell you whatever it is that you ask. And especially Scott, who's had a great experience in business and coaching, he's quite a gem. Now, I realize that you're a Christian, and I've come across many people who have a question on Christian and business. How do you go about that?
Well, for me, it's actually not a paradox at all.
Uh-huh.
As a business owner, what I want to do is provide a service for my customers that is of value to them.
Mm-hmm.
As a Christian, what I want to do is serve others in a way that provides value to them.
Mm-hmm.
I see no contradiction in it.
There's no contradiction.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
because my focus is on finding those things that truly help you. And sometimes that helps me too, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not about me. It's if my focus is first on serving you, and out of that I also get compensation or service, or something comes back to me.
Mm.
That's a fair exchange. There's nothing manipulative about that, or controlling about that, or wrong about that. From my identity as a Christian, I see the larger picture is all of what I'm doing to serve other people is about helping make a little bit more like, the ultimate kingdom. I mean, in the ultimate end, I think we all get to do the things that we love. I think we all are able to express our truest who we are.
Mm.
That's all I'm doing as a coach too, is helping you express the truest who you are and find the ways to do that. And so it's 100% in alignment for me. Now, that being said, a lot of, some of my clients are not Christian. I have no problem with that either, because again, it's not about convincing you to be a Christian. It's about serving you as a Christian, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, and thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. Now, you have transitioned, and someone who's listening is has an idea of transitioning, and Maybe, yeah, someone who's listening here has been employed, is in corporate America, corporate whatever they are in the world, and at the end of the month they receive a check and they just go pay their bills, they clear any debts that they have, and that's okay, because at every single end of month they know I have something coming that is good, that is going to take care of this. And then we come into business or entrepreneurship, where we know at the end of the month you cannot predict what is going to come and what is not going to come.
Mhm.
How do we go? How do you handle this situation? It's
So
scary for some
actually,
people.
I would argue that that's actually a myth. So the myth being that business is completely unpredictable.
Hmm.
What I will say is it's sort of the difference between unplanned and unexpected.
Yeah.
Unexpected means I know stuff's going to happen, but I don't know when it's going to happen. I may not even know exactly what's going to happen.
Hmm.
Unplanned is I can't prepare for this. You can actually prepare for unexpected events.
Mm.
Again, I'll give you a simplistic example that's not business, just to make the analogy, and then we'll talk about the business part of it.
Okay.
You have a car. Is your car ever going to need repair?
It is going to need repair.
Can you tell me when it's going to need repair or
I don't
exactly how
know.
much that repair is going to cost?
I don't know. Unless service that I can plan, this is after every month
Right.
or after a certain
You
period.
know oil change and
But
tires,
then I know it's gonna break at some point, but I
right?
don't know when the tire is gonna blow up. I don't know. I
The
don't know.
water pump's going to fail, the alternator is going to need whatever, right?
Hmm.
But can I prepare for the idea that my car might break?
Yes, I
Well,
can.
yeah, I can save some money and call it car maintenance fund and stick it in the bank. And when the car breaks, I take money out and I pay to fix the car,
Hmm.
you know? And now, because here's what happens to most people when their car breaks, they have a car emergency because the car is broken, and they have a money emergency because they got to figure out how to pay for it.
Mm.
If you've got money, you have a car emergency, but you don't have a money emergency anymore. You've literally cut your emergencies in half.
Wow.
Okay. Same thing happens in business. As a business owner, you're right. There's ebbs and flows. I may have certain months that I have more clients and other months where I have less clients. I
Hmm.
may have, different uh, I have a client who runs a power washing business. They're really busy in the summertime, not so much in the wintertime.
Hmm.
Okay. Right. There's a seasonality to business. There's ebbs and flows. But what I can do is set my business up where every single month I'm putting money back, I'm building up a reserve. And so in that month where it's real low, I can still pay myself at home the exact same amount as the month where I made a lot of money.
Mm.
You do that by not spending all of the money in the month that you made a lot of money so that you have some money in the month where you don't make so much money. Now that
Right.
takes time and that takes a process and you've got to learn, and there are ways to do that. You set your business up that way. But what you're doing is setting your business up so that you can roll with the punches. And when something unexpected happens or when something unplanned happens, you can still deal with it. So the myth is, oh no, when you're a small business owner, it's feast or famine. Some months you're great, and other months you're not. No, you can actually design a business where that's not true. It takes work. It's
Take
not,
care.
it is simple in terms of conceptually, it's not hard to understand. It's not
Yeah.
easy. It requires discipline and it requires setting up a system. It requires having the discipline to not spend every penny in the month that you make a lot of money,
Hmm. Oh,
and
yeah.
it's
That's.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
what they. I mean, in Proverbs they talk about. Yeah, you going there and looking at the ants who gathered their food during summer so that they can
Mhm.
have something to eat during winter. Yeah, makes
Right.
sense.
Same thing.
So,
Why did you set up the 7 years of harvest and stock them away? Because there was going to be 7 years of drought. The
yeah, exactly.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good and well answered. Thank you very much for that. Wow, wow, this is wonderful, and I believe that there's much more that you can share with the people. And this episode is just a short one. So, how would people find you if we finish, if we end this episode at any point now?
Absolutely. So, Mishka or anyone else who's listening, if you want to have a little bit further conversation and talk about some more, you got some follow up information. I actually have some free resources I put together just for your listeners. You can find those over at inspiredstewardship.com. now tell us.
Wow.
All one word, little bitty, no caps, just now tell us. So inspiredstewardship.com/slash now tell us, and you'll find those free resources. You'll find more information about how to get more things. I've got a book that's coming out that covers some of these topics. All of that stuff's over there. You can check it out and even set up a 30-minute call if you'd like to, where we could have a chat.
Wow, that's wonderful. I didn't know that Now Tell Us have some free resources on inspiredstewardship.com. That's a great one.
Absolutely.
So head over to inspiredstewardship.com / now tell us and get those goodies. And thank you very much for that, being so kind.
Absolutely.
And that's the place that they also can connect with you.
Yep,
Um,
it's got all of my links and all of those, and then also inspiredstewardship.com. They can find out more information there. If they just go up one level to the inspiredstewardship.com, but everything's linked up there on the Now Tell Us page.
Wow, wow, wow. That's wonderful. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So we are almost coming to the end of this show, Haj, as I highlighted, but then there could be that one thing that you would like us to always remember, something that you don't want us to forget in life ever about mastering our time, our talents, and our treasures. What is that?
For me, I think the core comes back to the what I touched on earlier about the real hard work, the real discipline isn't dealing with your time and your productivity or your money. It's
Mm,
it's us. It's our heart and it's our mind. It's getting out of our own way. We often, you know, it's the old thing of, you want to know what the problem is, look in the mirror. I would
mm-hmm,
go further though and say, you want to know what the solution is? Look in the mirror. It's the same thing. We're creating our own biggest hurdles, but we're also the solution to our own problems.
mm-hmm,
It's really getting in touch with what is our why, what is our passion, what is our calling, what is our driver, whatever language you want to use. What were you put on this planet to be doing, to be saying, and now how can we make that happen?
mm-hmm,
Knowing the why is the hard work. The what, the execution, the doing, it's really not as hard once you've figured out the passion behind it, the why behind it. That's the deep work that takes the actual effort.
wow. Okay. Thank you for those words. We appreciate. And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's been a pleasure having you here. Thank you very, very, very much.
You're very welcome.
Yes, and I also take this opportunity to thank all those people who've been watching us or listening to us, even those who get to listen to us or watch us after we are through with this episode. We thank you. And
Absolutely.
yeah, once again, we thank Scott for coming here and sharing everything that he shared with us today.
Thanks for having me, Anthony.
Yes, this has been Now Tell Us, and I have been your host, Anthony Morore, together with our guest, Scott Maderer. We thank you and bye for now. Go and be the best that you can be. Bye.
Bye bye.